Hey, everybody, welcome back to Gardens the Untold Story. I'm your host, Ken Somerville, my co host and good friend, the Invisible Gardener, Andy Lopez. And tonight we're talking about magnetic roots, how Earth force drives soil life. And it really does. That energy that surrounds us, that surrounds our planet, it really drives everything because it's like turning on the light switch. Everything needs that power to really get going. So,
From the
Andy,
very beginning of time to the very end
yep,
of time, everything on this planet is heavily regulated by all these forces that flow through us, flowing through the universe. The Earth is a magnetic field, has a magnetic field. We understand that. So it's really very, very interesting. And I put down some notes because I'm extremely intelligent. I know all this stuff. And I gotten it from experience by dealing with other people, other scientists. When I give a talk, it's really funny how many scientists are in the audience, and they come up to me and say, "You were talking about this. Well, let's talk about it." And I go, "Oh." So I'm fortunate enough to meet some really cool people who written books on the subject. And this was
yeah,
early 70s. So we got to know each other. I got to understand because my knowledge is from a practical point of view. I'm not a scientist, but I practice. I do what I practice what I preach, and I am intelligent enough to see. Well, there are forces here that govern all of this. This is not just because I don't see gravity doesn't mean the gravity is not there, right? All that kind of stuff. So I understand how these basic things. What is that? Instagram. Oh, that's me. Is that Silly doing this thing? Hi, Silly.
that's me in the background doing that thing.
You? Oh,
Yeah, man.
okay. All right. So today I'm going to go through as many of these as I can, because, like I said, I wrote down a whole list of them, which then came to mind, and then I tried to expand them a little bit. I'm just going to use them as points to talk about these things, because I'm doing a series now. Well, the last few shows we covered it to some extent. Now, we started it. I said we can talk forever on these things. Remember, we talked about paramagnetism and how
Yeah.
magnetism is very. We did a show on structured water. Fits perfectly in here because I was trying to explain why structured water is so important in nature. Okay, so let me just say the number one thing that I can tell you about what happens with structured water. Negative charges on clay particles hold positive plant nutrition. Okay,
Okay.
so structured water is what causes the clay, because I talked about the ola, right? The ola made of clay, and the clay is
Yeah.
paramagnetic. Well, that the electrical magnetic charges to the earth magnetizes these clay particles. They get negative energy, which charges the water. So if it causes the water to be structured, which then allow the plant nutrients to be more assimilated by other living things, and particularly the soil biology. How's that?
It's very true.
This
Very
is a
true.
very scientific fact. You can ask any of those AIs out there this question, and it'll answer it for you if it's any good at all. Because some AI is just little people in the backyard answering questions. And so, and also moisture retention, molecular adhesion keeps water films attached to soil grains. How do you get
Yeah.
molecular adhesion through structured water? So again, these two things that structured water does directly refers to the soil, to how the soil works, to how the soil functions, which I think is really, really cool. So what I did by mistake was I started in the very last one. Okay, so I'm gonna move to all of this to I can get the very first one, because I just have so much stuff here that I can explain it to you. But I felt that was like really at the core of everything. Okay, really how structured water works. Now I'm going to talk to you about. Okay, so this is called aggregate breakdown. Disrupted electrical bonds cause soil particles to repel each other, dissolving stable soil structure. You want to say that again?
Go ahead.
Disrupted electrical bonds. Okay, so when you disrupt electrical bonds, so remember I told you human beings are very good of disrupting structured water. In nature, you find structured water in people's properties and their homes, and anything to do with farming, anything with human beings, the water they use is not structured. It's disrupted. It's no longer structured. Okay, and so it breaks down stable soil structures. That's what it does. You have disrupted water. You have water that's not in tune with what is supposed to happen. It works the opposite way. It actually causes problems. And so here are some other things interesting. Chemical surges destroy mycorrhizal networks, halting the production of it's called glomelin glue that bonds soil together. So when you have unstructured water, it destroys the mycorrhizal networks. That's what
So
you get.
basically, what you're saying is when it doesn't have the right electrical bonding, that it'll steal that electrical bonding from the soil structure, which allows it to break the soil structure apart instead of holding it together.
It doesn't steal. So when the water is unstructured, it destroys anything structured it runs across. So if your soil is happy and healthy, you've been giving it structured water, and all of a sudden you apply unstructured water, it will destroy the cohesive of that water. Mother Nature's rain is not unstructured; it's structured. It's the only time you get unstructured water from the city, where even well water, because you're digging it up out of the earth, it's structured. Unless you run it through a filtration. When you run it through a filtration system, it unstructured. Did I get any questions? I can't see what's going on over there.
No, there's no questions yet. Although we did have Tio Mimo mentioning the cation exchange system, which is electrical binding, etc.
Which one is that? Let me see.
Okay, hold on. Let's just say hi to
Hi,
Serena.
cousin. Hi, Serena. I want a joke. Do you have a joke about energy and Earth? Come on, you can do that. You have 600 of them in your brain. You told us last time. Come on, spit it out.
So the cation exchange, which is for the clay particles, how much
exactly right. So that is
electrons, neutrons.
That is the key to nutrition absorption. That is the key right there. See, because it's an exchange, and when that's not working, then we have problems. Here's another example: overgrazing and monoculture. Gravity exposure, removing permanent plant cover, exposes bare topsoil directly to the impact of heavy gravity-driven rainfall.
Yeah.
And this is the unprotected soil particles detach easily, allowing gravity to wash fertile topsoil away. And this whole process here would not be happening if there was structured water in the soil, because I look at it as a bond.
Mm-hmm.
So when it rains, it doesn't bother it at all. But if it's unstructured and the city water comes in, any kind of other water comes in, it's not structured, will just destroy it. So it further breaks up the union that we have, which makes the soil microbial web of life, right? The web of life. Well, if you don't have a web, it isn't a web anymore.
Well, and the other thing you have to consider when we don't have, cover crop and that raindrop is hitting a dirt surface, you're getting compaction. Where if it's hitting a leaf, it's allowed to break up and then flow down onto the soil. But yeah, it's just like take a 5-gallon bucket of water, hold it up 10 feet in the air, and drop it. It's going to compact the soil or whatever's underneath it. So if it's landing on top of your head, you're going to get hurt. But, if you have something that's going to break that fall, then it's not going to do the damage. And
that's what Mother Nature does. She automatically set up ways to break that, whether it be a natural ground cover, whether it be plant cover. You have all these plants on top. They hit that first, and they slowly migrate down to the soil. Even a natural ground cover when the leaves fall, right, and then make a mulch. It does that automatically, keep it from blowing up your soil structure, which is really very, very cool. And one of the things that I wrote down here is it's called
Okay.
I like that. Oxygen starvation. Standing water that's unstructured replaces underground air pockets, suffocating beneficial aerobic bacteria and earthworms. So you have the structured water holds oxygen, unstructured water doesn't.
Okay.
right? And
So we
without,
do have a question for you, Andy.
oh, wait a second. Question. There you go.
Yes. The structured water makes soil like a sponge.
That's right. That's right. So structured water is negatively charged. So when you have the soil, which is positively charged, buck, they attracted to each other. That's a simple way of putting it. Even though it's not a negative and positive, because it's called paramagnetic. It means it has both negative and positive. But if they work, when they work together, they do attract, right? And that repelling a part of it is done on purpose, because unstructured water is basically bad for you. Mother Nature says that's bad. We don't want that. So everything repels it. But if that's all you give it to them, you can't. Your biology is not going to survive after being, chemical fertilizers, chemical pesticides, herbicides, fungicides. All what they do is they break up the structured water. You have unstructured water, and that's part. That's part.
More to the disease side of things than the natural way that it's supposed to be.
So let me tell you something else. It's called magnetic navigation. So when we talk about the Earth, we know automatically about birds that migrate that have magnetic navigation, right? They can tell which way they should be flying. All living beings have this. Even humans, if there were in the old days, we can go out. That way is north, without looking at anything. And you can see, because the energy just pulls you that way. You can see which way the energy flows. So magnetic navigation, magnetic electrostatic soil bacteria contain microscopic iron crystals, allowing them to align with the Earth's magnetic field.
Mm-hmm.
How's that? So there is a physical thing right there. How the structured water and magnetism work with each other, because that's what you have to get in your brain. How does magnetic field or any other kind of energetic field change the structure of the water? So that's one thing, having iron in there. But you can have other things replace it that allows you to structure, because when I work with, for example, gems, not all the gems and stuff have this iron. They have different other metals in it that can be structured. See, so for example, gold or ruby, you have crystal, ruby, gold.
Okay, are we having an issue there, Andy?
Stop! I can't laugh. I can't laugh. Let's see. I was talking. Okay, so you have normally, if you're in nature, you'll find by now that nature doesn't do just one thing. She does all these things. So when we talk about the soil and iron filing, that is one way that we can use it, that trace minerals. But it does the same thing with almost every different trace mineral. There's 96 of them. So you name one, and it does that. Okay, it does that. So you have ruby. You have the ruby crystals alignment. You can get ruby and diamonds together. You will see the diamonds and the ruby crystals align. When that alignment happens, that's when magic happens, because we can tune into that. Insects, other creatures can tune into that. Living beings, in which case would be the soil biology, right, can tune into that. So we learn how to feed it. That, because I was talking about, let's see, what was it being called? Radionics. So radionics was developed by a German who basically said, well, you can do that. And he totally, understands how this whole alignment structure water works. We can therefore, in nature, normally gets transferred very easily. So why can't we duplicate that? Why can't we say, okay, so he built a device called Hieronymus device. That was the guy who said Hieronymus. He built a device that he would take diamonds and rubies, but in this case, as a farmer, he would say calcium, iron, magnesium, or maybe get rock dust, put rock dust in it, which has a blend of all this stuff. He can transmit that over the whole property. So he can go he did a refractometer reading before and after on plants, on growing on the property. He had like a 10-acre, maybe 20 acres. It was a big giant, it was about that big, a pipe, tall. And the pipe is interesting too, because the pipe, so we talked about the olak, which is just one, it's made out of clay, right? So these pipes were made out of clay, and and then you want organic. So it's inorganic, and you want organics. You want an organic layer. That could be anything that's organic. It could be wood, right? Or anything
Mhm.
else in nature that's organic. So it could be compost. It could be, sometimes there are different kinds of structures that you can use. Like for example, I think that they do different types of composted products, or maybe what is it? Seashells, things they may be hard, but they're basically organic. They've just been around for a long. What is it? Around for a long time. Oh, bro, had a nice trip for a second. Yes, man. Wow. Yeah, I have I have what is called with second trips. I do these things in 1 second. It's like, whoa, hey, hey. Yeah. What was I talking
I'm
about?
not gonna say anything to
Are
that,
we, are
Andy.
we making pasta again? Is it today how to make pasta? Oh, anyway,
Yes, yes, yes.
anyway. So, and I find this really very, very interesting because the Earth has magnetic fields, and those magnetic fields we align to those magnetic fields, and then the Sun has magnetic fields. The solar system, we're being bombarded by all these different kinds of fields, which we are directly affected by. But the one that affects us the most, right, is the magnetic field that we live on, right? You
Yeah.
see, so and our Earth is the magnetic field flows throughout the Earth, all the oceans and everything. It infused with this magnetic field, and I find really awful is that okay, the ocean is full of plastics, right? Well, that's not very good for the structured water of the ocean. It's not very good for the structured water on land if it's full of chemicals. It's not very good for the air. Oxygen we need. What is that? What does it say? What does it say? Sorry, no
Sorry, no
disrespect.
disrespect, all love. Yeah.
Yeah, it was. We'll have
We
to
gotta
talk to
give
you.
Andy a hard time, guys, especially when he's having one of his moments. But I Andy,
Yes,
here's
sir.
one. Here's a question. We had a paper mill explosion in our state today. What else besides sunflower should be planted to restore health, soil health and biology?
Well, guess what will come up first? What if you did nothing? If you did nothing, guess what would happen? Make a wild guess. Go ahead. Go ahead. To make a guess. Who said that?
That was Serena that said that.
Okay, Serena. What do you think would happen if you did absolutely nothing? Just say a month down the road, what would you see? Or 2 months down the road, what would you see? Come on, you're okay, Ken. You can answer.
We're gonna see what's called people call weeds,
you
dandelions. You know, uh,
got it. You got it.
yeah,
That's
dynamic accumulator plants such as, and you got cannabis, dandelions, your hemps, your sunflower seeds.
all kinds
But
of called so-called weeds, and the weeds
yeah,
only come up to bring up what's needed. So right off the bat, you look at stuff. Don't pull those weeds up. I would take a picture of them, use your phone to identify this is rich in iron or this is rich in potassium. Well, guess what is needed right now in the soil? And they do the cleaning up process. If you want to clean up the soil, so here's what I do in my backyard, okay? Because it's like the highway used to run behind my yard, okay? So instead of it's in the front now. So when they build a highway, they got this builder's construction sand. They patted it down, made massive amount to make the road. So I still may have about 30 earthworms in the backyard. Most of the earthworms are in containers. But what was I talking about? I know I was talking about something.
dynamic accumulators for her.
Right. And so the first thing, so what's coming up, my workers are saying, start pulling up the weed. What are you doing? I'm pulling up the weed. Did I tell you to pull up the weed? Yeah, but you got to pull, no, stop it. But you have to literally, okay, back away from the weeds. And I have a little sign, these are not weeds, and they just don't get it. Exactly right. They just say, because everybody around me, homes are like, clean it up, get rid of all the weeds. Then they got boss to tell me what's wrong. And I'm going, stop pulling up the weeds. It's like, why? They're weeds. No, they're not. And so what I would do, I would just leave the weeds growing. But you can grow all kinds of plants. All herbs, for example, are cumulative, definitely
Mhm.
sunflower, but you can get a variety of anything you plant will accumulate the toxins that are in there, but that's not what you really want to do. You want to increase the soil biology. You want to go one step back to the very beginning. When God created the earth, he told people, Okay, let's increase the soil biology here. Okay, everybody, this is what we're going to do. And so what you have to do, if you can't make compost, and I bet you do, I would love to talk to you about what is you doing to make your compost. Because if you were to study any of these other masters in the past that said, I make the best compost in the world, they all have one thing in common. What is that, Ken?
Well, their brains are full of manure.
Okay, what's the next thing they have in common when they make their compost? You had the manure right, but what kind of manure?
Animal manure, or
Well,
there's a lot of other. Well, you know,
you could do it. You could do it. Come on. It's a three-letter
all
word.
animals are producing manure,
It's a
whether it's a
three-letter
human
word.
being, a lion, a
That's a
bear.
four-letter word.
What,
Three-letter word. It goes moo, moo, moo,
a, a,
moo,
a
moo.
three-letter word, not a four-letter word.
No, I said the lion is a four-letter word, but it's the thing is a three-letter word. What is the three-letter word that I
You're
want you to
you're,
say?
you're thinking of the moo moo cows,
There
yeah.
you go. There you go. And there's a reason for the cow because it has four stomachs. And the stomachs are very, very unique. Literally, I didn't know it had four stomachs until I'm looking at the thing. The cow has four stomachs. No wonder the manure is so good. No wonder Rudolf Steiner says, this is what you got to do to make the right soil biology. And you look at it in nature, Mother Nature does this for all these different animals. There's just animals everywhere, and they all do various different kinds of soil biology. So when you use a horse manure, or you use chicken manure or rabbit manure, those are the ones people usually use, or sometimes llama manure, they're missing something. And no matter how good you think that is, you're still missing something. And when you miss that, that's the one that counts the most. So if you have a spear, and if your spear's tip is really bad, it's not going to work. No matter how good your spear is, that tip is not going to do nothing. Bing for Superman go, ha, 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 ha. Right? Am I kidding?
Oh, you're definitely kidding.
Oh yeah. So and that's what she has to do. I forgotten the question, but basically you have to increase your soil biology. You either have to make the best compost on the planet or go buy the best compost. Right here, I'm fortunate. I'm really lucky because I used to make my own. I had compost cow manure in my gardens every spring. Okay, so yeah, right. Composted cow manure, right. What I would do is CT grows at the minerals to the biology directly. So I don't know what you do when you're composting. I'm assuming that you add stuff to it. That's the time you want to add rock dust to your cow manure. What I did, I've learned something. When I go out to the field, to the farms to get cow manure or whatever manure, I bring my own rock dust blend with me. You want to get a different blend of different sources of rock dust because you want to have a blend. Mother Nature does a blend. If you just get one rock dust, you're going to be deficient in something. I get 12 different. I don't get them anymore because as I get older, I get smarter. I think I get smarter.
Well, we're not sure, but the wife here, cow shit is better. No, not fish shit. A combination, guys. Biodiversity. The more diverse, the better, because the bovine has a particular string of biology in their stomachs. Birds have a different biology. If you can get chicken manure, or if you're getting moose or elk or
Exactly
horse,
right. I should say about
whatever.
I should say about normal people, it'd be very difficult to get moose or elk manure. I'm just saying. I'm just
Well,
saying.
that's because you live in Miami, man. Like, I mean, come on.
But the idea is exactly true because I get the horse cow manure because I can get it. But if I didn't get the cow manure, I would try to get as wide. In Florida, I got chicken, rabbit, llama, goat.
Yeah.
I got horse. I got cow, a pig. There's a few other ones. A bat guano. There's a few other. The more different varieties of biology you get, that's that's the secret to it. And in there, it's bound to get the bacteria that you need. That's what you need to. In other words, you can make compost. If you don't have the right biology there, it will not clean up your soil. It cleans up a little bit. It doesn't have the biology to transfer those things and tear them apart and digest them.
Well, guy, you have to consider these things are being broken down at a molecular level. It goes that tiny, guys. we're looking at you're looking at a big leaf going into your compost pile. When it comes out, it's looking like black soil. Well, that leaf has been broken down on a molecular level. All those molecules have been reused, whether it's creating, other biology, or it's a combination of calcium, magnesium, clay particles being put together. It's all broken down, but it's Mother Nature does this every single year
And
round.
that's how it breaks it down. It breaks it down
Yeah,
through the structured water. It breaks it down. It has a system in place, which is really absolutely friggin' amazing because somebody developed a system. It doesn't, Mother Nature doesn't just everything fall into place. I think something happens that causes all this thing to really work. It's like God's a chemist. Oh, let's see, we're going to make it's really fascinating because the more you study it, the more you see that you drink structured water, just drinking it affects your body because your body is water. If your water in your body is not structured, you're not going to get the nutrition, the energy you can deal with. You're going to die because you may be walking around thinking you're alive, but your body's going, I don't know. I don't get this. That doesn't work. You see what I'm saying? We're supposed to be drinking water infused with nature, not water infused with people's energy, right? Toxic chemicals, right? Am I wrong?
well,
What
nature
the
is better. If we, what you're looking at this one here, I love to get the silt that builds up on the side of my creek.
Yeah, but worry what's coming down and collecting in there, right? So you're probably correct in terms of worrying because what you have to do is that you're surrounded with idiots who are just spraying all kinds of chemicals, all kinds of stuff, and it washes away because it's not meant to sit there. And if you're downstream from it, you're going to collect it. And so yeah, so you have no choice but to increase your biology, start growing things that survive. And these are weeds. Whatever weeds want to grow over there, I would just sincerely grow them because the bigger they are, the more they suck in chemicals, and the bigger it works. And then when they die, don't pull them up and throw them away. Chop, and drop. I saw somebody today. They think all you can say was chop and drop, chop and drop, chop and drop. And I said that is so cool because he got the message. I said I got the message. It's gardener with chop and throw away. Pull the weeds up, roots and all. Throw them in the trash, and the weeds going, wait a minute, right? No, it's like, and I can say, why don't you just chop it up and put it back down? And he's done it for about a month now. I said, you have to see this because when they break down, the plants actually are responding to them. The biology is there because they were fortunate they weren't using chemicals. Okay, so if you're using chemicals, you have to bring the soil back to life. But if you weren't using chemicals, you have some life structure in there. You just have to help it out a little bit.
Yeah.
So
we do have another question from
Serena. Another question. Okay, wait.
Yeah.
Certain plants like a plant with nicotina and nightshades to prevent the nightshades from getting tobacco mosaic virus. Ooh. Well, you can think about that in terms of plants that you can plant together, and there are a variety of plants that do that, but that's not the logic you should be looking at because when you have this problem. It's a soil disease that you have, and it's a soil disease. All diseases are in the soil. That means that you don't have a blend. And we've talked about this, Serena. We have talked about this, that you have to really have a wide blend, and you're missing something, and that happens to be what you need because it shows up in that form of disease or something. See what I'm saying, right?
Growing weed is the gateway drug to gardening. Okay, and I have to agree, Rick, 100%, man.
Yeah, because and that's what's happening is that you have to first of all, I've asked you about if you have a water filter. Secondly, I'll always want to know what you're making your compost with. We talked about rock dust, and I've never answered me whether you use rock dust or just one. If you only use one rock dust, one source of rock dust, you're going to have problems. You should at least start using C90, SEA 90 trace minerals. That means you're only short to 6 trace minerals, and if you have the right soil structure. In other words, the right environment that the soil grows in, carbon is very important. So so Mother Nature is constantly building the soil structure, and we're constantly destroying. So you can't just throw biology into an empty vacant lot. You got to have someplace, or you have to build the condos and let the biology move in. Very simple. See, it doesn't sound like mad science, but if you just throw biology in a vacant lot, you're going to get nasty text back. You killed my darling husband and my children. We moved here and we're all dead. See. So and
Well,
the soil. Go ahead. Go ahead,
here's
Bob.
another question. What about chopping and dropping bioaccumulators that hold onto heavy metals?
First of all, when they get the heavy metal, they've changed it binds to the it's slightly different. It's no longer free heavy metal. It's attached to something, and then when it drops, the biology, assuming you have this living soil, which is what you want, will attach itself to that because they are attracted. That's what structured water does. It allows the biology to be attracted to that, and they will break it down. They will break it down because remember, heavy metals are needed, but in small proportions. When you have heavy metals, it's because you have too much of it. It
Yeah.
accumulated too much. You're using something that's very heavy, usually chemical fertilizers, pesticides, all of these have heavy metals. I've learned, for example, when you're cooking, when you're growing certain plants and stuff like that, they tend to have more like rice because it's in water. The water will collect the heavy metals, concentrate it, then pass it on to the rice, and the rice is full of heavy metals and other
Mhm.
things like that. Because we learned uh, when we water these plants, it's already heavy metals in the water. See what I'm saying?
Well,
It's heavy.
let me give an example for you guys to give you something to put in your mind. Take a piece of steel, call out your heavy metal. Okay, what happens to that steel over a length of time? It oxidizes, it rusts, it slowly breaks down over time to the to its individual components. That's what the biology will do to those heavy metal particles if you're composting those materials. It'll actually take, that structure of molecule, like let's just use hydrogen and oxygen, H2O, which is your what you're breathing. Okay, if you break the hydrogen off, then you have the oxygen. Well, that's what's happening to a heavy metal molecule.
Right.
Whatever its component parts are, they can be separated into separate components of, like, say, hydrogen and oxygen, and then it's no longer the molecule that is classed as that heavy metal. It's just all of the components being there, if that
And that,
makes sense.
and that's the key to it because um, the real key is to have such a incredible soil biology that anything you throw at it, it'll take care of itself. You just have to remember it doesn't happen overnight. These things are not meant to be breaking down immediately overnight. So sometimes it would take years to break down these things because remember you accumulated over years. I tell people if it took you were there 15 years doing junk to it, it may take you 50 years again to get it back to normal. If you're lucky, because a lot of times you get to such a point, nothing will grow because you have made it so toxic. You almost have to just you have to let it lie fallow. You have to dump. Yeah, the idea what people did in the old days, they had cattle that they would move around, or even had a chicken coop where they would move the chicken around. They would poop in that area, then they would move it over there and leave that alone for a year or two or three. Let the biology go nuts. See, and that will clean it right out. It does that. Animal manure will do that very easy, but it isn't going to do overnight. What's to say?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I didn't know what Serena's saying about the barn. Something on the
Well,
roof.
Serena had a bunch of tiles, roof tiles or shingles that were buried in her soil in a certain area, and she's wondering about how long it will take, for that contamination to go away. Um, and it
Take the
really,
tiles out. Take the tiles out. That was a good start. Take every time you find an old tile, just take it out. It
yeah,
depends. It depends how the tiles were made. They could be enforced with toxic materials very easily. It depends on how they were made. You see, in those days, they didn't test the soil or for toxicity. They just made these tiles, and the tile could be radioactive. It could have concentrations. It depends on where they get the tiles from, right? What's going on in the soil and the environment when they collected them, how they made it. See, right?
yeah. Now she's saying, will the tree that grows near the tiles help take up the toxins from the roofing tiles? It's going to be slowly breaking down that roofing tile. Now, is it a tile, like a ceramic? like you see on the Mexican style buildings, or is it a shingle, an asphalt shingle that you're talking about, Serena? If we
That's
can,
how shingles bad.
yeah, yeah. Well, I've got a bunch of asphalt shingles sitting out on the back corner of my property, uh, and asphalt tiles. So I'm yeah, asphalt is a high tar base, so like an oil based product. So the biology will break it down, but it's going to take time.
Right. And same thing with the clay. So if the clay is fired up, it takes longer than if it wasn't on fire. That's why they oh, that's very good because it's usually on fire. Hello, hello, yeah,
Well,
amor.
Silly just came down and she's saying asphalt tiles take 200 to 300 years to break down.
Okay, that's time. Yeah,
So
yeah,
300 to 400 years.
that's time. Exactly right. A lot of these things you really do. You have to understand, Mother Nature doesn't work in our time frame. So it's things that it's nothing for her. It's like what? It's like 5 lifetimes for us. So we have to be real careful with those things too. But usually the plants. So if you have healthy living soil that you have been, taken care of, and you've been doing it all. For example, if it was my farm and I was doing all these things, I would say to myself, first of all, I always key into sources of toxins on my property. What is causing a problem here? And you usually find that when you first buy it, you have to say, tell me everything you guys have done. Oh, we had a thing over there. Yeah, well, those places where you built the things are the places that you're going to have some toxins right in there. You know what I mean? In that
Yeah.
spot. The old home that been torn down here, or we built that over there, and you can dig it up. You see all these iron pieces, all kind. Yeah. So, but the key is to have a wide range, have your farm be able to produce a wide range of materials, and part of it is have an assortment of animals. And a lot of times you have an area of your property that you allow to go fallow. That means the animals go there and they do their thing. You don't do anything, let it grow wild. That means let the weeds grow, let the animals eat the weeds because they will poop and be converted back to the ground again, right? Let other wild creatures come and do their thing because the more different creatures are the birds. You want to have a bird sanctuary, 1 billion birds doing the thing and poo-pooing. That is amazing. And that will speed up your process of cleaning up your environment. Because once you leave it for a year, then you do another section. In this section, you don't rototill it. You go back and plant. So if you have, depends on what you plant, whether it be fruit trees, right, or vegetable. If it's vegetable, you should plant right in there, right amongst the rest of the stuff that's growing, rather than rototilling it, rather than turning it all over, right? And so when you leave it fallow, a lot of times you take compost, you dump lots of compost all over the place, let it break down, and then mulch. You don't want this compost sitting in the sun and it's all dead. So you have compost, you have the weeds, compost, and then you throw mulch on top of it, and let the whole thing just break down, and then you can grow right in it. You'll be surprised how far down that compost and mulch will go into the mycelium will go right into 6 feet easily. It just depends upon whether or not it's a hard rock or volcanic rock, or one doesn't have access to animal manure, can be a vermicompost. Okay, so that's what I do. I'm glad you brought that up. So guess what I have in my home? You know what it is. Ken.
A big major worm bin in a cattle trough.
Yeah, exactly. I have what I call a worm farm. So when I started doing this, I live in an environment where I can't even grow compost here. I can't do it. They say that when I first got here, you need an environmental permit to grow compost. We don't want your manure ending up in the ocean. And I go, if it ends up in the ocean, I did something wrong. And all these people have massive amounts of animals and they have to throw it away. I'm trying to get the city to, why don't you just teach people how to make stuff? Because that's the one thing they really need to help their property. And yet they're throwing it
Then
away.
the city doesn't get paid, Andy. They're after the money, man.
So I have a worm farm. So I said, okay, what if I can't make compost? I used to have friends make compost. I tell them, this is what I want you to do. And these people will change the formula. Oh, we decided to use that instead. And well, I'm not buying your compost anymore because it doesn't have what I want. I was going to say, I'm very fortunate to have one of the world's best compost production soil engineer on the planet, my friend. You know who that is.
Leighton Morrison,
That's
who
it.
actually we had a special with Leighton yesterday. So if you guys haven't checked out the special, it's not under the Soil Matters. It was under Conversations in Ken's Cafe. Leighton and I were on for an hour yesterday,
Why didn't
chopping
you
it up.
tell me that? I could have been on the guest and come on with you guys. I'd love to have a three-way thing going on there. Lathan's
Oh
compost.
man, I don't do three ways, man. The wife gets
Oh,
upset.
gee whiz. Lathan's compost is almost as good as mine. When I made my compost, it was the best compost ever. I call it Organa, and people would pay $40 for 40 pounds, and I would make it and use it for my customers, and people would buy it. Organic gardens, people would buy it. I was with the American Rose Society, I make some roses going on fruit trees. But when I came here, I can't make it, so I have to get other people to make it for me, and nobody except what made us two people, Michael and Leighton. Leighton's is the best, better than Michael. Don't tell Michael that, but that's Leighton's like a real soil engineer that goes out of his way to do all these amazing things that nobody in the right mind would do, except me. I would do it if I could. See, I know his stuff because you can see the immediate use. The plants go, oh, and I go, holy cow! People are calling me up. I have a picture to show you of a fruit called cherry moya. Normally it's about like this, right? And so the secret for my business is I do foliar spraying. I have a machine that allows me to spray the biology everywhere, inject it into the soil. Plus, I've been doing it for a long time without any composting, because they would buy junk in the store. That's my compost.
Well, talking about junk in the store, Andy. What about ProMix HP? We use that now, realizing plants need nutrients every feed. Well,
what is ProMix?
It's a chemical compound.
Oh God!
Yeah,
you're asking me if it's okay to use a chemical.
Yeah, it's just supposed to be a soil. You go to the store and you can buy ProMix, and it's their stuff that they put out. Is it natural? Hell no. I go to the store, I buy a plant out of the shelves, I bring it home. I have to give it at least 2 to 3 weeks of pure water and foliar spraying with Korean natural farming methodologies for the plant to actually start growing healthy, because all they do is they use those chemicals to feed those plants in the nursery,
and it
so
kills
they're being
soil biology.
fed.
It kills the soil biology, literally kills them. And if you're bringing it, so I have this one customer, she spends $45,000 a year landscaping her property. And I say per year because after a while they all die and she replaces them. So when I used to tell her, you don't have to do that, right? You know that these plants should be able to keep growing. Well, they all die. I said, well, maybe you should stop buying, because when they buy at the store, you can't buy organic stuff and planting, landscaping. It's all chemically grown with little chemical pellets full of chemicals. And I said, okay, so there's a couple of things you need to do. You actually need to buy some compost here. And I've been there 20 years. And the first year I was there, she bought 100 bags of compost and it almost knocked out a Wi-Fi infestation in a certain area. I said, okay, now you got to do the rest of the property. She said, no, it'll cost me billions of dollars to compost the rest of the property. Well, so again, she goes to spend $45,000. You know who I'm talking about? I'm not going to mention any names, but they could be watching. And I said, okay, so what you have to do is just, ideally what we want to do is so toxic, take it all out, throw that away and replace it with good stuff.
Yeah.
So she would not buy Layton's compost because it costs a lot. Realistically, it costs a lot. And so there are other things that we could do to bring, but basically we have to take it out. Okay, so now she doesn't want to do that. So I'm saying, okay, so there's a way to clean this out. But unfortunately, you have to do, one of the first things you have to do is buy a whole property water filtration system, because your water is causing the salt. There's salt in that water. It's killing stuff, which we had Leighton had a lab report which shows danger, Will Robinson, danger, Will Robinson, danger, danger. It's like, you're kidding me. So the roots just go out there and they go, ugh, and they die. There's not a single worm. You put a worm in there and you see the worm come out and like, oh, die. So I forgot what I was talking about, but basically you can clean it up. So they have to stop the toxins coming in. That's the first thing. What am I doing to bring in toxins that's killing the soil biology? That chemical fertilizer you mentioned, Eat that for a while and see what happens to you. You'll see that it's toxic. What is
Now,
that? Fox
they're
Farm soil.
also saying they use Fox Farm
I know.
soil.
That's fine. Fox
Yeah,
Farm is organic, it's natural, OMRI. It's nothing alive, okay? It's not alive. It has nutrients, but you can't just put nutrients in the soil and expect the soil to work if there's nobody there at home to transform that. Organic fertilizers, organic additives only work if the soil biology is there to deal with it. So you can buy all the stuff you want to, and maybe it works because you haven't been using chemicals. Maybe it works because you're probably using compost to some extent, so you have some type of biology in there. But if you, because many people, I said, I switched to organics. I've been chemical all my life. I decided yesterday I went and bought this stuff, like Fox Farm or whatever, put it in the ground, and the tree did nothing. It did not even respond to my stuff. See, organic doesn't work. So I went next door to my neighbor. I got some urea, dumped it on the plant. Boom, it went green. Now, what's wrong with that?
Well, generally the urea, unless you're using your own urea, it's a chemical-based process, and it's a concentrate. It hasn't been broken down by the biology. It interferes with the biology, the growth of the biology, and you're force feeding things again. It's like, Andy eating McDonald's every day for the rest of his life. He'd only have a very short life because there's no nutrition there for his body.
Yeah. So what I wanted to tell this person, I said, today I was talking about refractometer, and we talk a lot about refractometer because if people don't believe you, say, look, here's a device that'll prove to you what's missing in your soil and your plant. Because you can, through a refractometer, you can see, well, this is amazing. Or no, this has got very low. The higher the bricks level, the higher the mineral levels. Okay. And so that's what it comes down to. Thumbs up, garden enthusiasts. Show some love. Yeah, man. Yo, baby. Okay, no, I'm fine. Okay, so let me continue here because I got lots of stuff, man. I got lots. I got pages upon pages. I don't do this for fun, okay? I wanted to bring up targeted hunting. Predatory nematodes use electromagnetic fields and chemical clues emitted by root systems to navigate the dark soil and find prey. That's just an example. I try to call it real life. It's how in nature we use electromagnetic system and all this energy for our benefit. So when we talk about soil biology, they use it all the time. That's how they can communicate with each other. If we didn't have an electromagnetic field, a field to transmit communication, we could not talk to each other. Trees talk to each other through the network that's in the soil. Although also have visual clues, you can see a little flower going, "Yay, over here!" Yeah, that's a slightly different thing in the smell. Those are visual clues, But the main thing is that the root systems are a network, and the way that it seems in our body.
Well, and that's it. Our bodies work the same. The electrical field. That's where, and Dr. Paula, the chiropractic is sexy. They were talking about a patient with Alzheimer's who could barely speak one word, but after several, adjustments to help that energetic flow through the person's body, they're now speaking in sentences again. So that flow of energy in our bodies, in our plants, in our planet, it all comes together and works together.
So I'm writing a book called Energetic Healing, which basically means that if your energy is flowing, your body will work. But then again, you have to understand there are physical disorders that can happen in your body, which are naturally blocked. That's why you have to, a chiropractor would say, well, this energy is blocked here. And you go, and be able to align it again for you. And that's some things that sometimes you may have a physical damage, right? You may have been in an accident or something. Like this is a phantom arm. It's not a real arm that I have. See, it's a phantom arm. So but the energy still flows through there, and it feels like I have it. So let me. I got more stuff to tell you. Okay, you might find this interesting. So fungi, they secrete a sticky substance called gluminin. It's a glial protein. It works as
glomulin.
Glomulin.
Yes.
Yeah, glomulin. It's electromagnetic forces to glue loose sand and silt into stable soil clumps. So basically means that's one of the ways that it converts toxics, because these toxins are found in these loose sand and silt stable, and they're stable because they're already broken down into this substance that now the earth can use it, or rather than a highly active toxic, right?
Yeah, it's the glue that holds the glomalin is the glue that holds the soil structure together to give you aggregation. But I want to pull up Farmer Cheryl's
Oh no,
thing
not
here.
the joke. The joke. No good.
No. Should one eat Miracle Grow? A Canadian YouTube soil scientist ate some on her channel to show Miracle Grow is harmless. Well, I can drink alcohol, and it's exactly harmless. But if
Wait a few years.
yeah,
Wait a few years.
like there's a lot of things that can be consumed, and I think I know the person you're talking about, and that's as far as I'm going to go with that. But
Yeah, I think we should
stupid
talk
is
about
as
that.
stupid does. Okay.
Yeah. Don't be a moron.
Yeah,
All
like
different ways. Oh God!
there's people that get paid from these companies to
And
do
I bet you that's exactly
really
what it is.
stupid things, and all the more power to them. I hope they get rich and get famous and do all these stupid things. And in 5 years, they're going to be dead, and they're going to go, "Well, why did I die? What did I do?" Well,
Right.
yeah, eat Miracle Grow.
Exactly. And that's
It's
what's
like
going
eating
on.
Roundup. Okay, go drink some Roundup.
Yeah, that's what's going on now with people eating food. You say, "What's food? What's wrong with food?" Well, it's not food. You've been talked into thinking that's food, but because we want you to think it's food, you keep buying it, and you don't die right now. you
Well, like
might.
Tio Mimo says here, right? Do you wash it down with some glyphosate? I mean, like, how stupid do you have to be? Like,
Let me tell you something really interesting, because I know we tend to go off the subject a lot, but wheat. So there's a video called "What's Up with Wheat." It's actually a movie. You should watch it, guys.
Okay, I haven't heard of that one.
Wheat is wheat. What's wrong with wheat? We've been eating wheat for thousands of years. Well, the wheat that we're growing now around the world is not the same wheat we've had for thousands of years. Every disease known to mankind, every disease, you will find wheat in there. Wheat, that's one of the problems. Wheat is used as a pesticide. Wheat is used as paint. Wheat is used as so many different things. It's not the same wheat that we are eating. So that food, it's not. I stopped eating wheat a long time ago, and I found a place. Well, they banned it in certain areas in Europe. Italy is one of them. You can actually order wheat that's grown over there, shipped over here, and it's real wheat. So I have some started, because that's the only way you can do it. You grow the wheat yourself. I think more data close to a square foot of soil than a data center. That's right. That's right. There's more stars. There's more microbes in a small foot, it's square foot of soil than there are stars in the sky. Okay, and the data is a good way to put it, because that's exactly what it is. It's so when the elements in structured water, it's actually data. It's data. You can say that's data, because it's not. You can say that's the molecules in there. Well, it's data. That is exactly what data is. Everything can be broken down into a simple formula, a simple data. In other words, it can be written out. Scientists love this stuff because they go, "This is data."
Well, shooting the soil, his main profession is in IT. So it's think of it, guys, and I don't know if we mentioned it yesterday, if I did or not, but look at our entire planet is an artificial intelligence, and every microbiology, every piece of biology that exists is feeding data streams back to that artificial intelligence.
Back and forth.
Runs our planet.
Back and forth. It's a two-way communication. Exactly. It's a two-way communication. I learned, when I started my hippie days, and I started to interact with nature, interact with everything around me, I would have conversations, but the conversation is not always hi back. It's one of those things where you would see the energy flow between me and trees, between the me and the soil, and between myself and the earth and the solar system. And there is a constant flow back and forth of data.
Yeah.
And water, I tell people, look, So we're a water planet, but if we didn't have the biology, we just have a water planet. Lots of water planets out there in our solar system, nobody there. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
It's the same thing. If we did have soil but no biology, there would be nobody there. We would not have life as we know it because we are biology. The whole world is biology in one sense. You take that away, you have Mars. You have all these other planets that do not have any, quote, living things, biology on any kind of level of any form. And so that's what's going on now. And I always tell people it's not the earth is in trouble, right? It's not the earth is in trouble. It's all living things, specifically human beings. We're going to kick ourselves off the top. Maybe 1,000 years from now, they're going to walk, there'll be ants walking around. Hey, George, do you remember those things? What were they called? They had two legs and they walked around. What were they called? What were they called?
Homo sapiens.
Okay, and that's what's going to happen. They're going to go, what happened to those people?
Yeah.
What did the beaver say when his project?
What did the beaver say when his project fell? Damn. There's another one here I've been saving in the background. Why were the plants and trees high? Because of all the weed.
We should hire her as our, as our background, to throw in the good jokes every once in a while. Because without the jokes, it's just aliens are here, right?
Yeah, but that's you, Andy, and me. We're both aliens, man.
Yeah, that's another story too. Because my spaceship, I've been here for a long time, but I don't have the fuel. I cannot. My ship is like empty. It's not gasoline I use, and I've been here waiting. I'm waiting for human race,
man.
I'm either waiting for human race to develop the technology for me, or my people are going to come and give me new fuel. They say we'll be there in 40,000 years. I think it's been a while already. I was going, hey. So
come pick me up, man.
The bottom line is that we use electromagnetic energy. We use electromagnetic energy. We have to learn how to use that to our advantage, because we're stuck on energy that man-made, which is not good. We surround ourselves with that all the time. The phone, Wi-Fi's, you name it. My favorite is microwaves. I love microwaves, man. You turn it on. It's like, holy shit. I think I'm sterile. I'm not going to have any kids now. It's like, what the heck? And so, so I love the Japanese. And one of the things I learned from them is called forest bathing. I like that. It is what it sounds like, forest bathing. So at forest, that's why we, as human beings, you walk in a forest, you have an electromagnetic field of the forest. And all you got to do is let go and become part of that electromagnetic field. All of a sudden, you're tapping into that energy, and you can see what the trees are talking about. What's everybody into right here, right? And that they call it forest bathing. And to me, I always call it tree hugger.
So most of the people I know, they just go into their grow, sit with their plants, and they get that energy and that
exactly
love.
right. Exactly right. So I started now because I would get that from the tree, but anything I grow, no matter how small it is, I'll be like, hey man, what's happening? And to be a tomato, anything, it's all part of the. And I also extended a little bit further. With other living beings, ants, gophers, squirrels, snakes, all these things are living beings, are part of my being. And I welcome them with open hands, open arms. I say, hey, how you doing? I mean, I was at the farmer's market the other day, and this guy had two massive dogs, everybody. And I stood there, and the dog said, hey, man, what's happening? I'm going, no, nothing. What's wrong with you? My master is really weird. I said, I can see that. They go, don't come near me, he'll bite you. And the dog came up to me, stuck his nose up to me, looked at the master. Don't worry about him. And they're petting me. The guy's going, what did you do to my dog? And the dog is telling me, don't listen to him. These people are really out of it. At least they give me good food and a good place to stay. But they look at it. It's like, so you can see. So I deal with the soil biology that way. I'm very, very cool. That's, to me, when I stick my hand in the ground, you go, oh, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. right?
Well, you're getting all the energy in there and the magnetic roots. But Andy,
Yes, sir.
we're at our hour,
Well,
brother. So
we need 2 hours. It's just that, hey, you guys, don't you want me to be here for 2 hours? Come on, you can do that, right? Tell him to do me. Let's do 2 hours. Come, 2 hours, 2 hours. I was just getting warmed up, man. I have to go. I got tons of more pages. Look at another page, another page, another page, another page. Okay, fine. Okay, fine.
okay, have you
Okay,
had your
bye, guys.
moment now? Have you
Yeah,
had your moment?
Okay. What are we doing next week? Wait. I'll tell you what we're doing next week. Okay. Next week what are we doing? What are we doing next
I don't
week?
know. What are we doing? You're the one telling me.
Oh, wait. I saw I can find it here real fast.
Well,
Next week.
tomorrow, guys, we got chiropractic is sexy on tomorrow. The ladies are talking again. That's at 10 o'clock Pacific. So you guys want to check that out with the chiropractors. And thank you guys all for coming.
Yeah, we're doing water.
Oh, we're doing water?
Water, key to life. Yeah. We'll go over
Water
water.
key to life. Okay. Well, that's what we're doing next week.
Hey, guys.
As far as Leighton on Monday, I think it's SGS Soil Solutions is coming on Leighton on Monday. But guys, we're booked in the Soil Matters right through all of July, so we're booking into August now.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I'm gonna have my Rasta wig on. I'm gonna call it the Rasta. Yeah, brothers and sisters, we're here today to talk about love, the physical
Much love.
Everybody, okay, turn around, hug the person next to you. You know, oh God.
Well, hug the tree, get that energy,
Jesus.
guys.
By the way, I'm having such a hard time here. This is too hard for me. Bye, guys. See you later.
Bye-bye.